are aware of this or not. How right ye are. Actually, it would be thou. How right thou art. In 1 Samuel 17, when it mentions the champion, who is Goliath. 1 Samuel 17, in verse 1, the Bible says, Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shochoh. And I want you to, if you have a Bible, look at this. It says, they were gathered together at Shochoh, which belongeth to Judah. Now, you know what that is, don't you? That's trespassing. They were on land that did not belong to them. They were in a place that they were not supposed to be. That land did not belong to them. It belonged to Judah, which belongeth to Judah. They were gathered together at Shochoh, which belongeth to Judah. I remember the first time I read that. And I preached a sermon. I've preached that probably 3 or 4 times, different places. They were trespassing. They were on land that did not belong to them. You do not let the Philistines on your property. Okay? I mean, just let's think that there's a gang called the Philistines that lives down the road, lives down the street from you. And they go around with their pants hanging down, and they've killed people, and they take spray cans and write, graffiti all over people's houses. And then you walk out one day and you see the Philistines out on your property. Okay? Don't let them on there. Call the police or whatever, but get them off of your property. And there's lots of Philistines all over the place. They're coming into our houses. They're coming into our churches. They're coming into our lives. They don't belong there. They're trespassing. Run them off. Oh, they've got a mean-looking champion. David didn't care. So, Betsy, I appreciate you saying what you did. Her church's mission statement says, our church is raising champions and taking territories. Doesn't belong to you. And we confess it every Sunday. Oh, I like this. This sounds like to me. Now, Betsy, you know who you are. I think I'm reading you right here. When your church makes like this little positive mouth confession, and if you do, if you just say it enough, it'll happen. That is the law of attraction, and that's witchcraft. We confess it every Sunday. When I told the minister about this, he simply said, well, if you don't want to be a champion, you don't have to. If you're not on that level yet. Whoa! Stop right here. Betsy, you didn't know I'd have this much fun. If you're not on that level yet, show me in the Bible where there are levels of Christianity. Show me that. Show me the verse. No, actually, I need 2 of them. Show me 2 verses in the Bible that says that we walk in levels. Show it to me. Okay? This guy's teaching, Betsy, this minister, the minister of your church, is a liar. He is practicing witchcraft, and he's practicing masonry, because that's about the only group that I know of that works in levels. Oh, you're down here, but we're up here. And listen to this. Here's what he told you. He told you a Masonic ideology. You don't understand because you're down here. Now, when you scale the ladder of Masonic levels, when you get to here, then we're going to tell you more secrets and you'll understand better. That's Freemasonry, is what it is, or witchcraft, or whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. I have never, number one, in all the years growing up in church, number 2, in all the years of pastoring church, I've never told anybody, well, I know you don't understand this because you're just not really on that level yet. If you'll just come up some notches, then we'll tell you some more things. But we really can't tell you this right now. It amazes me what has slipped into the church under the guise of Christianity. He said, you're not on that level yet. I had to respectfully, and I appreciate that, I had to respectfully explain to him that I knew what level I was on, but that I did not want to call myself a champion when it means something negative. I am realizing that not everyone in my church will welcome change. Here we go. When a preacher called Mike Murdoch, stop right here. Mike Murdoch is a thief and a liar and a false prophet. I've watched this guy, and I can tell you that Mike Murdoch is exactly how the Bible describes false prophets of the last days. That's who Mike Murdoch is. I have never invited Mike Murdoch to come to our church to preach. Never have. Never will. Maybe it's just because I'm not on that level. She says, when a preacher called Mike Murdoch attended the church, I was surprised to see online, while he was on the pulpit, a member of the choir went and knelt at his feet. This did not look right to me. There's a reason why, Betsy, that it didn't look right to you. Because it's not right. She says, I have not attended church for a few weeks and am praying to find a church that preaches the KJV version. But I am thankful that I am learning what I can from the Bible. When I have been to my old church, the same confession they make about checks in the mail, gifts and surprises, royalties received, bills paid off, etc., makes me feel like all people want is money and wealth. But I just want to do what Christ wants, not to become a billionaire. Thank you, Betsy. Please pray for me and my daughter that we find a good church that truly represents Christ in these last days. And so God knows, I'm not saying her name, God knows who Betsy is, and so you pray along with me that Betsy and her daughter will find that church. There are still churches around that are still holding to the truth, and they're becoming fewer and far between, but you can find them. Anyway, I appreciate her stand, and this is I hear this stuff all the time from people. We went to our pastor. The pastor either ridiculed them. Very, very seldom do I ever hear of somebody saying, you know, I sat down with the pastor and I showed him, you know, Pastor, this is not right. Pastor, this, you know, according to the Bible it says this. I'm trying to recall a time, and maybe there has been a time. I'm sure there has. But very, very few where the pastor said, man, I didn't know that. Maybe we need to pray about this before we launch into this. And that's sad that a pastor who is supposed to be, you know, like in tune with God, cannot and will not or does not somehow, some way discern between what is holy and what is profane in his church. He doesn't know the difference. And so we're going to pray for Betsy. The other woman here is, oh, let's see here. I need an older woman name. Myrtle. This is Myrtle. Myrtle and Betsy. Okay? Here's what Myrtle says, and she says that I can share this. Thank you so much for the encouragement that your lessons have given me as I go through deep suffering, because I took a stand against Beth Moore coming to our church through simulcast. Because of my opposition to her as a New Age false teacher, my pastor, listen to this, now you're going to like this. Here's what the pastor said. Because of my opposition to her as a New Age false teacher, my pastor suggested that I leave the church. That's crazy. She says, who did we say this was? Myrtle? I have a very strong spirit of discernment, And sometimes the worldly church can make me feel a little crazy. There's a reason why, Myrtle. Just hearing you teach the same thing the Holy Spirit tells my heart reminds me to fight the good fight, stand on the Word, never back down. Way to go, Myrtle. I live in blankety blank, North Carolina. And I don't know if you know of any pastors out this way, but I would sure like to find a good Bible-believing church. They sure are hard to find these days. Please pray for me as I pray for your ministry. Cindy, whoops. We're going to pray for you too. And I'll tell you this. I had somebody, I tried this one time a few years ago. And it didn't work out so well. Somebody had asked me to ask around if I knew a church in a certain location. So I posted it on, I had a blog called the Hog blog. I'd like to have that back. But anyway, we had the Hog blog, and I posted it on there. Got on the keyboard, and I said, somebody's looking for a church in such and such area, blah, blah, blah. Does anybody know where they can find a good church? Blah, 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 blah. And posted that on there, and this person was inundated with one person in particular who I found out was a crazoid nuthead in that area, false prophet, that was, how wolves, they just kind of look to see, for fresh meat. And this crazoid false prophet jumped all over this and started hounding this poor guy with emails saying, hey, you need to get hooked in with us, man. You need to do this. And so I've kind of quit doing that unless I absolutely know the pastor. I don't. Now, I don't know exactly where her location is. I do know of a good pastor. In fact, I just talked to him the other day, and he's going to have me out to speak at a conference in South Carolina, Mullins, South Carolina. His name is Pastor Craig Valines. He's a good friend of mine. Solid, good old guy, good old country boy preacher, big fella, bigger than me. And we're good buddies. And so anyway, if you're in the Mullins, South Carolina area and are looking for a good church to go to, I recommend his, like I say, his pastor name. I don't know the name of the church. He just went out there from Arkansas. And so anyway, but that's my email. So pray for these people. And I'll tell you, those of you who have not found a church somewhere, you're not alone. I mean, the pickings is slim, I can tell you that. I have noticed in the course of my presentation this morning that some people have written in to the Pastor Mike Online live feedback system. This is Wesley, and Wesley says, I heard Hal Lindsey on VCY America yesterday, and he claimed that Revelation 17:18 will be a new Roman Empire ruling from Rome that does not exist yet. I see it as all nations that worship the woman or Gaia. I would like to know your thoughts. Revelation 17:18. Hal Lindsey, I don't follow him much. I wouldn't believe every word that in fact, I've talked about Hal Lindsey on this broadcast. How basically he said there's Christians. Oh my goodness, there's Christians everywhere. There's Catholic. In fact, I know priests that forgive people's sins and tell everybody to pray to statues that are born-again Christians. That's what, of course, Hal Lindsey didn't say it like that. I know some good Roman Catholic priests that are born again and saved, even though they're idol worshipers. That's how Hal Lindsey said it. He says Revelation 17:18 will be a new Roman Empire. It says, and the woman which thou sawest, is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And Hal, I will tell you, if anything about Rome fits this description, buddy, it's the Roman Catholic Church. Mystery Babylon is the spirit of this world. She is the harlot. She is everywhere. And the empire that's going to be in the last days,